I've lost quite a few pounds when I started this because I almost hit 220 with my girl's pregnancy.
Yeah.
Woo. Never in my life.
It happens.
Never in my life.
Bro, I got to like 238
When?
back in my previous life.
So I've always hovered, or recently the last year I've hovered around like 194 to 198. I've never crossed the 200 mark, but with the sedentary lifestyle, man, office, the two kids at home, I'm getting real close. I need to start exercising.
Dude.
Yeah. I'm worried about it.
I'll do one as well. I'll do a clamator parado, but
I really like those.
with
Are
soda
we live?
water. No, I don't know. Are we live? Yeah.
Oh.
Nice. And we're live.
Yeah.
And we're live, man. As y'all
Gotta
can
put your
tell.
orders in.
Yeah, we're just putting the orders in. We're not drinking on the podcast because we're trying to get in shape. Okay, that's the rule right now.
It'll last for about a week.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. We're keeping the drinking to the weekends only. All right, guys.
Except for last night, that was a fail. My bad.
Yeah. Day one,
I'll
you're
let-
not drinking.
Well, right.
Well, yeah, we're basically on a roll.
I get a text from Ronnie. He's like, I failed. I already know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But he texted me that.
Monday?
No,
Mineral water.
Mineral water.
Yeah. It's like, cool.
Topo Chico.
Awesome.
Topo
Thank
Chico.
You. Thank you.
Thank you, man. So we're live. First off, I want to thank Sebby for coming on the
sir.
podcast. Thank you so
happy
much.
to join.
Thank you so much, and thank you for opening the doors here at Howling Rabbits, man. You got a beautiful place, man. For anybody that hasn't come and checked this place out, man, I highly recommend that you come out here. This whole district out here that Domain has been able to develop is beautiful, man. You got some prime time restaurants. You got some really good places that you can come, have a beer, have some good food. It's actually really cool.
And I have multiple times.
Yeah.
I am a big contributor to this establishment.
This place actually gives you that feel like, hey, we're I don't know, man. We're outside. It's gloomy. It's a little rainy, and we're able to have a podcast, and you kind of feel like you're not in the valley for a little bit, you know?
No, it's great. It's great. I mean, and we got to give a nod, like you said, to the development, right? Someone like Xavi, and for those of you at STBA that focus on commercial, you know, these types of developments are getting bigger and better in the valley, which is great to see. But what it does is it spurs business owners or investors like me to do things that are different and spend more money on the quality of the venue, right? And so by doing that, we elevate the quality of lifestyle in the Rio Grande Valley, the options and amenities and kind of the culture that we have down here. So it's all a positive, man.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, right? Because we got a lot of people moving to the area, and we got to keep them here.
Yeah.
So we have to have entertainment
Things to
spots
do.
like this.
Yeah. Well, this is actually one of the, at least I think right now, and you know,
It's popping.
It's popping. It's a hot spot right now in the valley. Definitely.
It's one of those hot spots that you can come during the day.
Yes.
Also, right?
Yes.
It's not just a night thing.
Not that I would
You
know.
come here on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday. Not that I've been here, but it's always busy, man. You guys have been able to create that kind of environment, which is cool.
How did the name come about? Pretty interesting.
The name actually came from an individual that we met that was already kind of part of the beer community. But the history of the name Howling Rabbits goes back to, it's got a little bit of surprisingly Hispanic heritage.
Okay.
Goes back to the Mayans. And so there was kind of a thing with rabbits. They used to be kind of revered. And then there's
The rabbits.
Yeah, the rabbits were revered with the Mayans. And
Why was that? Were they like some sort of like they had like a special? You know how like people like was it like a worship thing, or was it that they feared it?
I don't think it was a worship thing. I think it's more they just considered them pristine animals of some sort, right? And so I know there's a kind of a bigger story behind it. I don't always recall it, but there was also, you know, the word howling came from kind of the beer world back in the long time ago. They used to use the word howling for these pubs and stuff like that. So it was just, he came up with that as a combination, and we kind of stuck and ran with it. Wanted something that stuck out, right? So whether a lot of people just call it HR, Howling Rabbits, Rabbits, whatever you want to call it, the rabbit.
We call it the rabbit.
You know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And for all the people that don't know, here at Howling Rabbits, they have craft beers, right?
yeah, we brew our own beer on site.
Yeah.
And it's not kegged; it's tapped directly to the lines.
So to all you beer consumers out there, take it from somebody that's on a diet right now and is not drinking beer. some great stuff, and highly recommend you come out here and you try some of it. But for the people that don't know, Sebby, what is it that you exactly do?
So I appreciate the plug as a part owner of Howling Rabbits, right? But for really,
and if you come right now, you'll get dollar beers. Yeah. Just kidding.
But I'm the chief lending officer at Lone Star National Bank, and I've had a long-standing career at Lone Star. I've been there almost 18 years in different positions. But as a chief lending officer, I basically look over the lending team as a whole, and our primary focus is loans, right? Lending out into the market, small business community, the builders community and development community is a massive portion of what we do. And so that's typically what we're focused on a daily basis is obviously portfolio management, credit quality, assessing the risk, but our goal is to lend money out. That's what we do.
That's awesome.
What's the market looking like right now for you guys? Is it are you guys?
Yeah, the market's still very strong. I think all banks to some extent have seen a little bit of demand start to soften overall. But what's funny is we're still generating the same number of units, but the dollar volume has plummeted a bit. So that's interesting to see, right? Because we're still doing almost month to month the same number of units we were doing, let's say a year ago, right? Year over year comparison. But the overall dollar volume has gone down significantly. So it does appear that there's a little bit of hold on large-scale projects, on people spending or buying land as fast as they were a year ago, right? And making kind of getting that inventory ready for a future investment. But we still see a lot of individual projects. We still see a lot of people, they've built up an inventory. They've got to move it. They've got to continue working. They've got to continue building. And we still see sales pretty robust. And we see a lot of activity. So we're very positive on the market and the outlook. But I know there's still some level of hesitation. And, people are trying to assess how much they can invest and how many projects they can do without sort of getting stuck holding the bag, right? Everyone's trying to determine, is there a cliff? Is there going to be a softening or is there going to be a recession? We don't believe any of that to be the case.
Okay.
But we feel that it's definitely going to taper off just a little bit. And you are going to see maybe values drop a tad, but I think that's just based on interest rates staying stable now for a while at an elevated rate.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's awesome. Lone Star has always been very good about, what's the word?
Leading the pack?
Not necessarily leading the pack, but understanding the market down here.
I
think Lone Star's always done a great job, and I know Vipul, right? He one of the analysts over there. He's on top of his stuff,
He's
and
awesome.
we talk.
Shout out Vipul, man.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, don't golf against him. He will take he will take your money.
He will take your money. Yeah.
Secret shark. But it's true. I think it's because of our market presence, right?
Yeah.
We probably have one of the largest lending teams in the Rio Grande Valley. We definitely have one of the largest, if not the largest, community bank footprint as far as branches and locations. And we have a very sophisticated infrastructure at the bank, right, with our bonds department, our wealth management, our insurance, our mortgage department, commercial lending, consumer lending, and then you add in all the retail pieces. So I think just as a byproduct of all that, we get a tremendous amount of kind of ears on the ground, feet stomping the ground. We get feedback from all the different communities, what's happening in Brownsville, Westlaco, San Juan, McAllen, Edinburgh, Mission, because we typically look at it as a whole, but those markets move very, very different, right? And we have a lot of lenders or members of our bank, part of everything from chambers to nonprofits to civic organizations to government organizations. And so all that feedback, right, funnels back to, I think, kind of what we're able to either disseminate down to our clients and help them out on how to assess the market, or in our general trainings and lender meetings, and so that we're all on the same page.
Right.
So having kind of a really large team that's heavily engaged and involved helps us understand the market.
Keep a pulse on a finger on the pulse. You mentioned that the markets down here, for example, Brownsville, Harlingen, they're all a little different.
Oh yeah.
What are you noticing in Cameron? Because I've noticed, in the last couple of weeks, I've noticed an uptick in projects.
Yeah, for sure. So even for Lone Star National Bank, right, our Cameron County team has exploded in the last about 24 to 36 months. We've seen a tremendous amount of growth and request and loans coming out of Cameron County, and we expect that to actually continue.
Yeah.
So obviously, I think their rate of growth is going to be the strongest in all of the Rio Grande Valley.
Coming up.
Yeah, coming up, and I'm talking about whether it's 12 months, 60 months, probably up to 10 years.
Wow.
They're gonna be on a very upward path. A lot of that really due to LNG. SpaceX is given a lot of credit. SpaceX is sexy and always at the top of mind, and there's no doubt that SpaceX has a major impact.
Right.
But the investment that's rolling in from LNG is insane. And the amount of workforce.
Can you elaborate on that investment a little bit for the people that don't know?
What is LNG? I know a lot of people talk about it, and I think a lot of people don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah, liquefied natural gas. Right?
Okay.
And so the plant that they're doing, I think it's broken up into 2 or 3 parts, but I know the initial plant, I mean, you're looking at $4 to $8 billion or something. The total project investment is about $18 billion. Probably the largest investment ever made in Rio Grande Valley. And it's obviously going to take time and come in phases over the years.
Right.
But it brings in a lot of ancillary businesses, right? Other byproduct businesses that are suppliers or providers to
that specific
work or industry factory.
And then you got people that got to come and work that factory.
Have we already seen that influx?
Well, you see the influx of labor's needed, right? So everything, and SpaceX has already eaten up a bunch of them, but you're talking about everything from welders, any type of craftsman, any type of tradesman. They're going to be in heavy demand. So they're going to have a lot of options to get good work over the next decade, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it's going to just completely transform the corridor between everything from Port Isabel to Brownsville. That main section there,
that's going to
change.
It's going to
explode.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I drive by there.
Housing would be a major need.
Yeah,
right?
I can imagine. I drove by there the other day, and I don't know how many maintainers, excavators. I mean, there was tons of them.
Wow.
In that corridor between like the tollway and Highway 100. It's crazy, unbelievable, man.
Crazy.
The size.
That's amazing.
I had no idea the numbers. 18 billion is on another level.
Yeah. I think that's what we've sent to Ukraine already. No, we're probably already way past that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we don't talk about that.
We leave that where it's at. That's amazing, dude. So for people that don't know, I mean, how many years? 17 years? 18 years, he said?
Yeah, around 18 years. I even lose track.
How does Sebby get started with Lone Star? How does that happen?
Man, that way back when, right? I started in about 2006, and really I was doing a lot of post-production audio. I had just moved back from New York. I'd always worked in kind of
post-production audio.
Yeah, I've always worked in television.
Oh, shit,
I worked in television. I used to work at a lot of music studios when I was in Austin.
So that's how you know. That's why when I brought up DMX, you're like, "What are you trying to do? A concert?" Or something? Okay, so you know it. Yeah, that's cool.
What did you study that or?
No, not really. I was a computer information systems degree. But
Sebby used to be a rock star, bro. We didn't even know.
Oh man, you go back to early high school days and all through college. I DJ'd for years and years and years.
Really
and
cool.
From DJing, I had gotten into production. Then I got into live recording, and so I used to work at a lot of studios. And it was always kind of a side hobby. And so when I moved to New York, I was doing a lot of audio work, and there was a lot of, obviously, media you could work
Did you go to New York because of the music?
No. I actually, my initial intention was to go get my MBA over there.
Okay.
And I just ended up jumping into the industry because it was kind of some of the abilities I already had. And I did a stint over at the New York Film Academy. And then from there, I was doing a lot of work for different studios, but it's primarily contract-based over there. So it's like 2 months or 6 months or 9 months or 1 month, depending on when they're wrapping up, when they're recording, what they need.
Okay.
And post-production audio was primarily what I focused on. But then eventually, after a couple of years there, I ended up moving back from New York, and I was actually working at Univision doing their radio commercials.
Okay.
And just by chance, I happened to... through my dad, I happened to apply over at Lone Star National Bank, and I think the analytical background, my CIS degree, they plugged me into as a credit analyst, so kind of went in blank. Banking was new to me. And from a credit analyst position, that's where most lenders start. You know? So I was a lender for 10 plus years, but I went from credit analyst to the special assets department, and then from there became a lender and then the chief lending officer. So, yeah, I mean, it was... a long ride, but I never expected to end up in banking. It just ended up being something that I did enjoy. Found it to be very stable, could build a career. And as long as I was kind of moving up and enjoying it, I stayed in it. And so it's been really good to me.
Any part-time gigs for DJing?
Oh, those days are long gone, man. Yeah, there's still a room at my house dedicated. That stuff's not going anywhere. I might have to dust it off, but hard to let go of it. But now I've got a full setup system.
Bro, that is really cool.
That is, man. You know, it's funny, dude, because in high school, I mean, I don't know, like the time that I was growing up, it was like EDM was hitting really hard, right? Like the electronic dance music was hitting super hard, and everybody wanted to be a DJ. Everyone's like, I'm a DJ, right? And it was funny because the group of friends that like all the track guys or whatever, they were all into music, and we all had our own turntables, and we were all like DJing and stuff. And it got to the point where, dude, like I opened up for Steve Aoki when he came to South Padre.
No, you didn't.
Yes, dude.
No, you didn't.
Hey,
I'm
if my brother, hey, Ruben, if you're watching this
Send
live,
pics. Put him on the chat.
if you're watching this live, I don't even know if he still has the video, bro.
Bro,
but
that is cool, man.
It was me and my boy David, which is still DJing to this day, and the guy's already like touring and stuff. Like the guy's doing his thing, bro. Like my parents were always more like, hey, wait, like get out of there.
Hey, get a job.
Yeah, get a job. What are you doing? But dude, it was crazy, man. Like we actually got hired once to go. It was around spring break time, and some guy called us, and he was like, hey, we have a gig. We seen you all mix, whatever. And at the time, dude, you're in high school. What do you know? You're a senior. You're just happy that somebody's going to give you a chance to go play music.
Yeah.
Right?
Just fill in one of the early spots.
Yeah.
Dude, it was crazy because we show up to this guy's gig, which was at it was where Clayton's is now. We show up and there's no gig. So we were like, what the heck is happening? And the guy's like,
did we just get punked?
Yeah, we basically just got punked or whatever, and we show up and there's nothing. The guy's like, no, I was hoping that you would bring your own tables. I was hoping you'd bring your own speakers. We're like, dude, all we have is USB drives. Like, we don't have any of that. We see a girl DJing at Clayton's.
Yeah.
Just a funny story, a little segue, whatever. But we see a girl DJing at Clayton's, and my buddy's like, dude, go up and see if we can get like 30 minutes. Just ask. And the girl's like, you got to speak to my manager, because it was spring break time. So we go to the manager. The manager goes, $200 and I'll let you DJ for an hour. Dude, we're broke. We're in high school. We ain't got no money, right? So we put our money together and we're like, all right, $200. So we paid this guy $200. This is a real story. Ruben, if you're listening, put it on the video or put it on the comments. But we paid the guy $200. The guy takes the girl off the decks, right? And he's like, go for it. You guys got an hour. But prior to doing that, we started going to the beach and we started inviting everybody to Clayton's. Yeah. And I'm talking about like, hey, I would go up to you and be like, hey, man, I'm about to DJ, bro. Come check this shit out or whatever. It got to the point where the owner of Clayton's he had to stop us, bro, because the beams that support that deck were bending because we were playing hard electronic music at the time, bro. And people were jumping and it got crowd surfing. I know it sounds crazy, bro, but it was
one of those moments.
It just happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just
I'm not surprised. For some reason, I'm not surprised you did that.
It's crazy.
That's
Ruben,
cool.
if you're watching, it was crazy, bro. I'm just glad that my brother was there to experience that. But, music is very, very powerful, man.
No, it is.
I don't think people understand. I mean, you're very tied to your music. I mean, your kids do music, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
It's
a big deal for me. It's I think it's a big deal for everybody, right? It touches certain emotions that we all need at some point, which is cool.
Yeah, it is crazy. So, Sebby, somebody that's been around for as long as you have in the mortgage world, you see the ups and you see the downs in the industry, right? You see the wave of the ocean as it moves through time. We've had people come on here and people that experienced 2008. We've had people that also experienced that I don't know what you would call it, that boom that we just recently experienced as a whole industry where people were just selling houses like hotcakes. You know
crazy.
what I mean? Now that you see it stabilizing a little bit more to what normal is, how does that, like, with somebody that's been in your shoes for so long, like, can you start reading these? I mean, I'm sure you read these trends and you're able to kind of make your adjustments for the future off that, I'm assuming, right? Like you get to start seeing like, okay, this happened here, it lasted so long, it lasted so like the period of time. I don't know. I don't know. Like I think about that because I'm like, man, like I'm sure people that have been around for forever can just see it now, you know?
Yeah, we get used to it, so we don't get in panic mode. We expect the waves to go up and down a bit. There's really, really good times. There's obviously some sour, kind of low times. But for the most part, there's a stabilization point that is very normal for banks, right? And
they like it.
We typically try to lend within that stabilization point. And we even do that during the high times and the low times. We don't really tighten up too much, and we don't overextend ourselves, especially for a bank that's been around for 40 years.
Yeah.
You stick around and you stay healthy, and we're a one-rated bank for a reason, and it's because we maintain sort of the same level of risk assessment despite what the market's doing, right? You're always assessing risk at the same level. So we don't take significantly more risk just because the market allows for it, right? We're not some kind of brokerage firm, right, that's trying to get crazy returns. And we can never tighten up too much when the market dips a bit, because that's actually when a lot of people need us the most.
Right.
And so the bank's always been focused on continually lending, but we have to lend on, let's call it the 5 C's of credit, right? And we have to. And so we have to make sure that the collateral's good, that the person's character's strong, that they have a good history. And, most of it is credit-based at the end of the day. It's cash flow capacity, right? Does the project make sense? And do they have the capital and working capital to float it, maintain it? And do they have a proven history of selling these types of projects? So that's what it always is, Whatever the economy is doing, we're still going to be out there lending.
Is there a size project that you guys won't handle?
No, we actually just did we just approved just 2 weeks ago about a $4 million build. And, $120,000 to $360,000 builds approved every day.
Yeah.
So pretty standard. I mean, they're all based on their own merit.
Sure.
And so
Right.
there's really no scale of project that we can't do.
Anything exciting that you know of that's coming up in our area?
I mean,
I'm sure you guys get all the requests for loans on some of these projects.
yeah, we see a lot of things that we get. We get the development side, the infrastructure side. A lot of times, maybe new tenants or retailers or things like that. We don't see them on the front end as quick. We usually find out when the market finds out realistically. There's a lot of aggressive development, similar to here, the Domain, and what's going to happen across the street. But we see now, I know there's a heavy investment going on in South McAllen, and what we've seen is people doing a lot more master planned style commercial development, right? Because the previous thing is find a tract of land with a little bit of frontage, put a front facing shopping center,
Right.
And so we're starting to see a lot more people looking for larger tracts, and they're putting real strong, good efforts in the overall planning of the plaza, right? So every plaza is now looking.
It's not like your standard commercial and then behind.
Yeah. They don't want to just house something. People want to create an atmosphere. They want to have a certain vibe related to that development.
Yeah, that's exciting.
And so
Yeah,
it's
it is.
great to see that, right? It's great to see that people are able to do that because there's a cost to that.
Right.
And the fact that people are willing to take on that added cost in creating atmosphere or vibe to a development means that, they're comfortable in taking that risk. And like I said before, that only brings in bigger and better tenants and attracts more business.
Absolutely, I agree with that. What's going on across the street here is going to be really cool.
Yeah, it is.
From what I've seen.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. And that's going to be great for you, right?
It'll be great
as
across
a
the
business
street.
owner,
But just to see housing connected to commercial, in parallel is what we want to see. We're used to McAllen, where whether it's 10th Street, 23rd, even McCall and parts of Jackson, it's typically commercial on the front and it's residential right behind it, right? But they're kind of split. They're always fighting. So it's great to see developments that are coming in with residential and commercial unified.
All included. Yeah, that's really cool.
That is pretty cool.
The other thing that I've seen in the market that I'm a little worried about as a builder is we've got a lot of fourplex subdivisions coming into the market.
A lot.
It is.
How do we feel about that as a bank?
Well, from the bank perspective, we always assess each and every request on, like I said, case by case. Now, I can say we haven't done as many fourplexes as we used to, but for one primary reason, our bank, we've always done fourplexes at 15% down, right? So how much down payment? Say 15%. and then they say, okay, I want to buy or build this fourplex for 565, and they find out that 15% turns into 29%.
Yeah.
Because we do 15% down as a standard down payment, but it's subject to a 1.25 debt coverage ratio, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they either have to have rents that are through the roof, or they've got to have more down.
Right.
And so let's say like typical fourplex, a lot of them now building them between 475 and 535, right?
Even more.
With a lot, even more, yeah. And I'm almost going off a purchase price, but 550, right? So it just, they can say they're going to get 1,400 in rents, but we have a lot of market data that tells us, 1,275 to 1,350, 1,300
Sweet
quickly
spot.
stabilized. Yeah, so we assess it at 1,300 minus a 25-30% expense ratio, and we have to turn around and tell them, yeah, we'll do it, but you got to bring $191,000 in down payment, because we basically right-size the loan to get to our debt coverage ratio.
Yeah.
Right.
And, we do some, but it's definitely slowed down, and I think overall that market's going to temper a bit.
It's going to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, I personally don't know where all these tenants are coming from.
Yeah, same
all these
here.
renters.
It's crazy.
crazy.
I mean, I had a friend tell me, he's like, for all those people that can qualify to buy a home, there's also the same amount of people that don't qualify, but they
more.
have
Yeah.
the money.
Or
They have
more.
the money to pay for something nice, so their best option is,
Renting a nice place for
Yeah.
1,400.
Yeah.
The Rio Grande Valley has long been strong in the rental market, because I think our vacancy rate down here is like 5% or less, right? Which is better than the Texas average. And it's primarily been because we have a lot of people who are almost kind of credit worthy of a home, but aren't quite able to buy it, whether it's the down payment part
Right,
or
right.
the capacity or just the sophistication of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's mostly related. We don't learn as a culture down here in the Rio Grande Valley. They don't learn about DTI and
Right.
credit, right?
They don't teach you that in
until
school.
later.
Yeah. They don't teach you that like in your middle
Yeah.
school, high school years.
Yeah, and we're
You find out when you get a credit card and you're not paying it.
Yes, sir.
Oh, shit, how much interest am I paying?
and you have a
And
lot
it becomes very real.
you have a lot of Hispanic families that have kids and get married very young,
Right.
and so that forces them into dual car payments, paying rent because they don't know, and then by the time they build up some liquidity to buy a house, their DTI might be shot, so they have to realign that. But yeah, I mean, I think most mortgage companies, including our mortgage company, we try to help them out, try to lead them on a path towards home ownership. That's always the goal.
I wish that was something that was taught more in schools growing up, is how to be financially aware of how money actually works. And because you really don't even like learn that, and even when you get to college, like you have to go searching for those classes if you want to learn a little bit of stuff. But
Yeah,
I mean,
most of us learn in the real world.
Yes, exactly. I was about to say that. Like I've learned because of my dad. He's been like, this is the way this works. This is what you do. But other than that, I mean, you don't have that education in school, and it's actually pretty sad because the Mexican culture down here in the valley or just prior to us has always been like, I mean, dude, my dad was married by like 21.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think he had like his first kid at 21 or something.
18,
I don't even.
16.
Yeah, like
It happens.
and every lesson he learned and everything he did in life, it was by him hitting his head against the wall and learning the hard way.
Yeah.
right.
And I think that was the norm here.
Yeah.
At one point, it was the norm
It was.
in our little demographic of society that we have here in the valley.
Community. Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then that the way that we are just a byproduct of our parents.
Yep.
You know.
At the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah, of course. But, it's gotten better, and I think, Lone Star National Bank has always been heavily involved. We actually go to a lot of schools and do what we call financial literacy.
That's good, man.
And so
I
we
was
do
gonna ask
very
you that.
simple things for the elementary kids,
How to
right,
open a
junior
checking
high,
account.
what it means,
Yeah.
how to write checks. And then we're actually moving into high school and college, and we're focusing primarily on what is credit, simple stuff that is now simple to us, but they never got told. So we tell them about auto vehicle financing. We tell them about how mortgages work. We explain in simplicity how tax returns are reported and how you pay income tax and where it goes. So we've done a lot of that, and we continue to do it, right? And fortunately, with technology and the internet, people have a lot more resources, right? You know, we used to live in the small bubble, and it was only your network that, either your school or your network that taught you anything. At least now people have access to the internet and can find solutions and answers pretty quick. And the other benefit we have is we have strong advocacy groups. I mean, I would call STBA an advocacy group.
Absolutely.
Right? The knowledge that it brings through its network helps homeowners and helps the community, right? That a lot of that didn't exist before.
Yeah. It's instant answers.
That's right. Yeah, resources available.
It's pretty
Back
cool.
in the day, you'd have to go through an encyclopedia, find the letter, pull up that topic, and then read it. Right nowadays, it's, hey, anybody have the answer to this? Yeah. And it gets responded to pretty quickly. Yeah. And so that access to information elevates, in my opinion, right, community.
It does.
Fortunately, it's elevating our construction community, right?
I think so.
And I think it's doing great things, man.
We got a lot of people that are interested in SCBA. We actually, I had 2 companies today call me that are not members, and they're like, hey, we want to participate in your bowling tournament. Is there any way? I was like, of course you can participate. Sure. Come out here and check what we're all about. But, you know, one of the things that we decided to focus heavily on this year was, you know, our workshops, and which you guys were the front runners on that this year.
Yeah,
you guys,
we appreciate that.
You guys hit it, dude. It was an awesome workshop. Like, you guys,
those are great.
I mean, you guys knocked it out of the park. I was just so excited to see the turnout and the amount of people that showed up to that. And you know, Central Materials just had their workshop. We got Concrete 57 coming up next, and then we're going to have a construction contracts workshop. One of the things that, you know, it's in our mission statement. Our mission statement, where, you know, education is number one. You know, we have to be able to educate. Yes, all this stuff is good and fun, and we try to make the best out of any time that we have, but education should be the front runner of our organization.
Yeah, speaking of, I know you were talking about educating some of these college kids. I had a meeting today, advisory board meeting with STC, and they kicked off their whole construction supervision program that STBA helped launch.
That's awesome.
And that is live and well. They have they're having
with us my end. Was it with us my end?
Yeah. And there was a bunch of people there at this meeting. And there's an event coming up. I'll send you the information. Okay. It's they're gonna have Milwaukee's coming down. They'll have James Hardy coming down, and multiple vendors. And it's gonna be free. Anybody that wants to go, it's gonna be free.
To hear.
Awesome.
Yeah, 200 students from the students from STC will be there, and also 200 students from what's the name of the organization? I can't remember. But anyway, there's going to be a lot of people there.
It's
those things are huge. Like they didn't do these things before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it just takes a little bit of a spark for people to get excited about stuff like that. And we live in a community where for whatever reason, man, it's a very advocacy type of community, right? Where people get excited about that stuff and helping out and giving back.
Yeah.
So, man, it's awesome. I love it.
Well, one of the things that's actually coming up too is there has. I mean, I was told it's the first time it's going to happen. It's the South Texas Builders Show. Have you ever heard of that?
Do you know what? I think I caught wind of that happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to put together a almost a convention.
Yes, sir. So at first, when I got called by some of the guys in the, I got like 4 companies that called me. They're like, hey, are you guys part of this? Because they had South Texas Builders Show. Yeah. I was like, no, sir. I don't even know who's putting it on. I have no idea what's going on. That same day, the person that's putting it on contacted me. And basically what he's trying to do is have a show to where people can go and get education on construction. Like how to build. Show. Yes, sir. Like a trade show. How to build a safe.
Specifically for builders.
Yes, sir.
Because they have the home and garden.
Yep.
They have the home buyer show and similar like consumer based, but something revolving around construction would be impressive.
Yes, sir. So that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to cater it for the builders, and since our organization is developed by builders, it was founded by builders. It's for builders, and we've just had partners like Lone Star National Bank and all the countless other partners that have supported us greatly. Just support us so much that now he contacted me and he was like, hey, is there any way you can invite your builders out to the show? Mm-hmm. Like, I want them to come out and see what's going on, see what they can, use whatever we have here. Maybe they can use it for their construction or whatnot, and just try and see if they learn something.
That's
you
right.
know. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's next for Lone Star, man? What are the plans? What's coming up? Anything new? You guys expanding?
Yeah, I mean, Lone Star's always pushing boundaries throughout the Rio Grande Valley, right? I mean, this is our core market. This is where we grew from. This is where our families are, right? But obviously, we got big plans in San Antonio.
Yeah, you guys have branches out there already, right?
We do.
Yeah.
We've been in San Antonio for about a decade, and we do reasonably well. They've got a moderately sized portfolio. Their deals are a little bit larger, but we're trying to expand that market. There's discussion now more recently. I think we hired some mortgage division out of Houston.
Okay.
Place, out near Houston, kind of outside of Houston. We're looking at some properties in Laredo. We're looking at properties in Bernie, and we're just looking to expand throughout. But Hidalgo County, Cameron County, Stark County, the Rio Grande Valley, man, this is our bread and butter. This is really the people that we serve the most.
As you guys expand into other markets, how does that help our community, Rio Grande Valley?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they're a little disconnected and they kind of do their own thing, each market. But I think overall, you have to realize that Lone Star National Bank's hub is here in the Rio Grande Valley, right? When we're generating, let's say, loans from San Antonio or Laredo or Dallas, or it doesn't matter where it is in Texas, guess where all those net proceeds, all that interest income, all that investment,
Trickles
it
down.
gets reinvested back into the Rio Grande Valley. All the owners are here from the Rio Grande Valley. Our chairman is obviously a huge proponent of supporting the Rio Grande Valley and students and education. And so what those markets bring back, obviously it all brings a residual effect to Lone Star, but it allows us to continue investing in our community, plain and simple.
Yeah, and that's awesome, man. We're cheering you guys on, right? You're obviously from our hometown.
Oh, yeah.
I love going by San Antonio and seeing, oh, shit, there's Lone Star National Bank.
Yeah, it's nice
That is awesome.
That's the Valley's bank in San Antonio.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's really good, man. I would love for Lone Star Bank to be kind of all over the state of Texas.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And
Is that the plan?
I don't know if all over Texas, but we'll definitely pick some strategic footprints. But I think the bank itself here in the next few years is going to be more open to lending within different Texas submarkets, right? Because it's a lot easier now to assess and do loans. Usually you wanted to do something that was close to you. You could see it, feel it, touch it. But like we said, with technology and our online loan origination system, we can get a loan production office out in a small city started pretty quick. And so it makes it a lot easier to expand your kind of territory.
Sure.
Right?
Now, did I hear it correctly that we're going to be, starting in April, there's going to be daily flights to Austin? Is that?
There is.
Yeah?
Yeah. And the flights from 3 days a week, the flights to Mexico City already started.
Dude, that's great.
Have been more successful than there's a little hesitancy and worry, but they've been actually very, very successful.
Yeah.
The load factors have been good. And the best is the feedback coming back, because a lot of people, flights to that new airport, people don't like change. How far is it from the city? Is there transportation? It's that military airport. But surprisingly, the feedback has been stellar. People are like, man, this is great. There's plenty of transportation back and forth. The airline 3 days a week has been working out really great. And starting in April, flying to Austin daily. Is gonna be
that's
tremendous.
awesome, bro. Dude, Mexico City is, I don't know what number it is, but it's one of the largest cities in the world.
Yeah, it's got to be top 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah. And Austin, obviously, we all know that skyline changes every day.
Yeah,
right?
There's a lot of Rio Grande Valley in Austin.
Yeah.
So
accessibility to these great cities.
Right.
I mean,
Cancun, direct to Cancun.
Direct to Cancun
with Volaris.
Yeah.
So just in a span of a few months, 3 new airlines entered McAllen Airport, right? Volaris, Aeromexico, and Delta. That's tremendous.
That's huge, right? So people moving down here, if they want to get away for a weekend,
that's right.
These cities are very accessible, right? And from a banking perspective, I'm sure you guys are ecstatic about that.
Yeah, of course. And of course, we from banking and even on the city side, we love that Delta is now flying direct to Austin. So we tout the Austin direct, but people forget you can get on Delta.com and just use Austin as a connect. Delta goes everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So now you can book Delta. The major airlines, Delta, United, and American, all from McAllen, right? Obviously with a connect. whether it's Dallas, Austin, or Houston.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Is it true they're going to be building the airport in Edinburgh? Is that going to be like something that passed? I know that Mr. Ramiro had mentioned that, something about that. They were trying to get that done. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, no, I haven't. If they are, that's probably way
down the line.
Way down the line. But there's no doubt they're going to develop that airport. Whether it only gets used for commercial purposes, which is more likely than consumer.
Okay.
It's a very different kind of airport. So I'm not sure exactly what it would need, but pretty heavy investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you guys have these meetings at Lone Star Bank, do these topics come up?
Oh, they do all the time. Yeah. We probably typically after our loan meetings, we kind of ask around the room, get a feel for parts of the market, like I said earlier, and then we have meetings that specifically have very structured economic updates that include board members, executive board members, different parts of the bank, so that everyone gets kind of updated on where things are going or what the outlook feels like.
Is that information something that would be available to us, for example?
Yeah, do you know what? I can definitely generate it or get it kind of get the output and send it to you guys, right, in some kind of format. But yeah, we don't hoard it. The point of us is we gather information, we do all the legwork, and our goal is really to disseminate it to our clients, right? We use it to help our clients make business decisions.
Yeah.
So we have no problem giving that information out.
The more educated your clients are, the better the bank's going to do, right?
Of
At
course.
the end of the day.
That's right.
Yeah. We'd love that information, man.
Yeah, we'll get you some of it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and thank you for always like that that presentation you guys gave, and going back to the whole fourplex thing.
I wasn't there.
No,
I do. Everybody's talking about that presentation, and I'm kicking myself in the ass.
It was good because it let people know, like, hey, there's about 400 fourplexes on the market.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's a lot.
Like it's not even funny, and you know you see it on social media every day. New subdivision popping up here. Reserve your lot now, and we only have 20 or we only have 10, and it's just like, wow, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I've got 2 for sale right now, so it's actually great.
Yeah.
As soon as I get them sold, then it's better.
There's always small indicators, right, where you can kind of just self-assess. You know, previously, I think for a long time, whether it was a fourplex, a rental, or some kind of piece of land or development, you had a lot of everything was pre-sold, so you didn't see you kind of stuff was getting built, sold, but you didn't see it kind of make its what I would call its public appearance. But I will say, you know, on social media lately, I see my feed's starting to get a lot more flooded with available.
Great fourplex available in a great area.
Right? Something that you didn't see 8-9 months ago and prior to that, right? Because they were already sold.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt there's a little bit of lag, and the inventory is going to start to hold a bit, right? It's gonna be
All predicted by Vipul.
for
for
sure.
real.
For sure.
Seriously. I mean, he told me, that guy's like a wizard.
Yeah.
So what's coming up next? Is it commercial? What's on the uptick right now, right? Because it goes in stages according to what Vipul said, right? Like we'll do residential, then that drops off, and then apartments come online, and then commercial comes online, and it's this cycle.
It's all a cycle, but at the end of the day, there's always kind of a blend of all of it kind of happening at the same time. I think the big focus now, and the reason why I said, remember earlier I told you there's a lot of units, but the dollars have gone down, is because most of the major, I would say, real estate, people holding real estate or investors or firms, they've got a lot of maturing debt coming up. Mm-hmm. And so they're looking to strategize and make sure that maturing debt gets refinanced or renewed on some kind of a stabilized basis before they make a new investment.
Gotcha.
Because, you know, you've got something that you've got an $8, $10, $15 million shopping center you might have done in 2017, right, at 4.25. Mm-hmm. And sure, it might be 100% rented, but when it comes up for maturity this year and your rate has to be 8, 8.25, 8.5, the payment starts to crunch the
What you're gaining out of it.
Well, it sometimes exceeds it.
Right.
And so banks are unwilling to refi it, right? And then the current bank that's holding it now has an event of default,
What do I do?
even if you're performing. So there's going to be a little bit of that, and the clients that have the wherewithal, capacity, working capital to be able to figure it out. But to give you an idea, you know, there was one client that we were familiar with, very, very strong. I would say top 1% kind of real estate holder, has a lot of cash, a lot of diversified real estate. No concern that he'd be able to perform, but a couple of his notes matured, not at our bank, at another bank. He was telling us, and despite how great of a client he was, he had to put a $4 million principal reduction on various notes
to make it work,
to right size them to meet the bank's covenants.
Wow.
And the banks are going to do that because they
have to.
They have to. They've got to be able to take it in. So that's definitely going to be a little bit of a strain on the market, is the CRE crunch that's coming over this year and next year with the amount of maturing debt. And the reason there's so much coming up this year and next year, you say, well, wouldn't it be kind of even over the years? Not really. It's because such major investment, because construction costs were low, interest rates were low, land was cheaper, exactly 4 years ago.
So
then you have the next 2 years, all those 5-year balloons is a heavy amount dropping in the next couple of years. So as that CRE stabilizes, I think about 24 months from now, then you're going to see investment pick back up significantly, because all that people are going to have that behind them.
Next,
they now know, hey, now I'm at whatever it is, 7.5, 8.5, 9, but they've got it figured out. A bank has it, carrying it, and so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, 24 months. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, 24 months for the CRE to kind of stabilize out,
Gotcha.
And then the amount of maturing debt of CRE after that is on a more nominal, regular basis.
Gotcha.
Because it came after the fact, and those started to come in at 5.5, 6.25, 7. As rates were going up.
Yep.
So that maturing debt isn't going to have as significant of a change. And
Right.
more
Yeah.
than likely,
Yes, sir.
rates might even come down by the time those mature. So,
Yeah.
But the next 24 months are going to be critical with the commercial real estate world.
What about the election coming up?
Well, the elections are interesting because typically the election season, which we're in the middle of, really
Right.
Very quiet election
bodes
season.
well for the economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the incumbent wants to keep the economy strong, right through the election date, and so mostly they don't do anything to hinder it. No major legislation is going to pass. It's going to put a hinder on any kind of major industry, and more than likely we're still looking at some possible rate reductions. But I can tell you, the rate reduction for June right now is calculated at about a 55% chance of happening. It was only 4-5 weeks ago where it has a 90% chance.
Yeah.
So it went from 90 to 55% just in a few weeks, right?
Is that inflation?
That's inflation. Inflation's the numbers that were just reported last week were still elevated at about 3.1. Everyone knows they want to get to that 2% mark, but they at least want to see it going down.
Okay.
So it went from 3.1 to 3.2, right? Or I think it went 3 to 3.1. Basically, it went up a notch.
Yeah, wrong way.
Yeah, and so the hard part is that if they make the reduction anyway, then it gives it the momentum to go up even faster. So
Is there a fear that interest rates will go up?
no, not at the moment.
That's
not
not
from any
analysts.
not even from the Fed's view, not even from the bank. They can basically accomplish what they're doing by holding rates steady.
Gotcha.
There's no doubt about that.
Cool.
Have
That's
you-
actually good to know.
Have you heard anything? I'm sure you've heard about the migrants coming over and they're being
of course.
dispersed throughout the United States or whatnot. One of the things I heard was that the government is looking into starting to house these migrants into homes, and what they're going to do is they're going to waiver the fee for them in order for them to get a house. They're going to, I guess I don't know if you've heard of it or not. I would like for you, if you have, maybe.
Not to that
educate
level.
me.
I don't know. I honestly haven't heard anything about putting immigrants into homes. Without a work visa, I don't know how they'd pay for the home,
Right.
unless it's some kind of government subsidy. But individual single-family homes, I couldn't speak to. I haven't heard anything like that.
Yeah, I just got sent, and I'll text it to you.
Yeah.
I got sent
I'll
like
send it
some article saying that the government was like in United States government was working on having to where they're going to be placed, like a family that came and is seeking asylum.
Yes.
Is gonna start getting placed in houses, because it's gotten to the point where they started using schools.
Yeah, they're using schools and hotels and a lot of other what I would call very expensive forms of
housing.
daily housing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're trying to figure out some kind of solution.
Yeah.
But what people forget is the majority of immigrants, I'm talking about very large majority of them that come over, already know exactly where they're going and who they're going to stay with. Most of them are sponsored. And they have family that exists within the United States, right? So very, very, very few show up on the border and just have no clue where to go or how to get there or what they're going to do.
Right.
And that's the reality of it, right? I mean, there's no doubt the immigration system as a whole is broken, but it's been broken for 40 years.
Yeah. It's not getting fixed.
Yeah, and, we'll see. I think
Uli says, can you close that door?
Regarding Mexican nationals, right? We live in the Valley,
Right.
and they've always been a big source of retail numbers.
They are.
It had dropped off a bit, right, during COVID.
It did, not as much as we expected. So
Yeah.
there was a deep, and even pre-COVID, during the, you go back to part of the Trump presidency, and you look at some of the border closings and the restrictions and just the rhetoric, right, and how Mexico was reacting to that. So there was a major concern that we were going to face a significantly larger reduction than we actually did, which showed us two things. One, that while we maybe at least a quarter of the sales tax revenue stems from across the border, the local Rio Grande Valley economy has picked up a lot of the slack.
The
People
slack,
in the Rio
yeah.
Grande Valley are spending a lot, doing a lot. There's a lot more success in the valley. So they're spending locally, which helps us basically self-sustain, right?
Yeah.
And not necessarily rely on just international, let's call it international assistance of sales tax, right? But their sales tax dollars are always invited, right?
Welcome, please.
We love people visiting our city and spending their dollars here.
Do we expect that to come back up to where it was prior?
Well, it's hard to say because our area is growing, and so for it to go up to the same, if you're talking about percentage-wise,
yeah.
if the more we spend here locally and the better we do here locally,
The percentage lowers,
the percentage, it lowers their percentage, even if they're spending more dollar-wise, which is what we've seen. Both sides are spending more dollar-wise.
Yeah.
And so we've had 3 years of continued record-breaking sales tax, at least in McAllen. I think some of the surrounding communities are experiencing it as well. But 3 back-to-back years of
that's great.
record-breaking sales tax, and it comes from both sides.
Yeah.
So we see both sides increasing.
Yeah, that's great, man. Speaking of Mexico, Monterrey's growing like crazy also.
They are.
Have you seen any investment coming from that area?
Unfortunately, we don't. So we have a really good partnership. At least I know the McAllen Chamber and the City of McAllen's great partnership with Monterrey. We do a lot of advertising over there for retail and for quality of life because a lot of people from Monterrey visit here to visit family,
Right.
but they visit here for the dining, the retail, and a lot of the events that happen throughout the year. I don't think we've had as much impact in driving the industry over here because Monterrey has a real strong connection to Laredo, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Which is a very tough competitor.
How do we change that?
Well, dude,
and is it because
Go for it.
Well, Nuevo León, the state of Nuevo León does connect to Texas in a very small area.
Yeah.
That's closer to Laredo.
Yeah, it's tough, and they've got a major corridor that is industry driven from Monterrey to Laredo, and whatever that might be, right? Whether it's the Tamaulipas government not being in line, I think with the current president, the current president, his administration has heavily pushed Monterrey and other parts of Mexico industry to focus on Laredo.
Yeah.
So we're always battling that, right?
Yeah. What do we got to do to change that?
Take STBA away.
Yeah, we continue lobbying, and McAllen EDC does a tremendous job of driving industry to the area. I would say for all their efforts, McAllen EDC has driven 3 times as much industry to Reynosa than they have McAllen. People say, well, why are y'all working on Reynosa? We said, because that helps spur us. And
Right.
Yeah.
they bring in professionals, they bring in engineers, people coming in from South Korea, from all over Asia. And so a lot of times they only need the Mexican side of the maquila type of industry. But eventually some of them do dual plant and they do one over here. Or we get another industry that they've got maybe the manufacturer in Reynosa, right, because of cost of labor or size of warehouse, whatever. But then they need they do the warehousing and packaging over here. So it's all beneficial. It's all mutually beneficial. And so McAllen EDC, it's surprising, doesn't. I mean, we almost work for Reynosa also as well. the amount of square footage that they're adding is huge. So
in Reynosa.
Their growth in the warehouse and industry space only benefits us even greater.
Yeah.
Helps us attract even more.
So from a manufacturing perspective, talking about the maquiladoras across the border, has that picked up? I had heard that there was been a big influx here in the last couple of years.
It has. Everyone's relating it to what you call nearshoring, right?
Okay.
And it basically means that after sort of the supply chain issues and after COVID, a lot of industry realized that you can't rely just on these large ships to cross oceans, right? You need to be closer to your customers, and you need to be closer to your distribution points. And so they're now, instead of having one massive facility that ships on the same boat, they're now doing a lot of smaller facilities throughout the world across oceans to be able to kind of hold and carry different parts of their inventory to move it faster.
Right.
And we're also moving into a society where, you had Amazon with Amazon Prime, and you have all this overnight delivery, and you have all of this. Well, what a lot of the Chinese companies were facing is they couldn't meet that type of demand. And so they're starting to create all their drop ship locations and everything closer to primarily the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, the U.S. is the major consumer market for the whole world.
Yeah, they got to compete with Amazon.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of changes that, what we used to refer to as NAFTA, which is now USMCA. Tremendous amount of changes happening in USMCA that surprisingly further incentivize companies to manufacture closer to the United States.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, good news.
That's great news.
What else what else is coming to our area that you know of that we should get excited about?
Well, there's a few things from the city side that are still can't disclose, but I mean, there's a lot of
Come on.
There's a lot of interest.
Nobody's listening.
Yeah.
Come on.
There's a lot of interest, and I think there's a lot of good things coming, and
I know Mission was trying to pick up a solar manufacturing company that it didn't work out after all.
Oh, no?
But it was supposed to be a big deal.
Yeah, that was a big one. Now we can talk about it a little bit, but there's a big one that was known as Cubic, I believe, is what it was referred to. And it's not a solar manufacturer, but even though they kind of fit under that auspice, they actually it was actually a chip manufacturer. So they were creating chips.
Oh, wow.
Chips that were primarily used in the solar industry but could be used for other things. But that chip manufacturing facility was going to be about a $1.2 billion investment. It's going to be a $700 million property investment and a $600 million equipment investment.
Nice.
Wow.
And it was going to bring in all this ancillary business. So they were waiting on there's a program with the state that incentivizes industry of that nature. And so they had their application in. They'd gotten approved by the state. Everything was good. I think it was Mission McAllen working on it. And they were at the very tail end of it, and everything looked to be lined up. Unfortunately, there were some incentives under the Chips and Science Act. And that act is great for industry, but at the last minute, the federal government, I'll say the White House, I'm not sure who, they made some last-minute changes that allowed China to compete in certain spaces that it previously blocked them from competing. So this manufacturer just said, well, when that clause was removed,
It didn't make sense, yeah.
it doesn't make sense to do it. So the area didn't lose it. We didn't lose it to anyone else. They bailed on the whole project.
Yeah.
But it was coming here.
Yeah.
And we'll get another one.
Yeah? Are we working on something else?
Yeah, we're on some interesting ones.
Yeah, good. Whatever we can do to help.
Yeah.
We'll make signs.
Count us in.
No, I mean, this is all great stuff for our community, man.
It is.
And, we all got to get behind it. Speaking of, right, switching topics to entertainment and the music industry, right? Grupo Frontera.
Yeah.
Dude, wow.
Yep.
Incredible the amount of they've blown up.
Yeah, they have. I mean, worldwide.
Worldwide.
And the crazy thing is that's another form of exposure for the whole valley.
Yep. It's huge. It's huge for the area.
It's great. Yeah, no, I'm really proud of those guys.
The niche of that music, right? Tejanos, / cumbia,
Mexican
kind of
regional.
Mexican. Yeah, I mean,
is popular.
For that
What is it called?
Mexican regional.
Music.
For that type of music to hit that level of mainstream is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So.
It's a big deal for us.
If Bad Bunny gets on your track, you've made it, bro.
Bro, all right. So you're a numbers guy, right? Check out this number. If you go to Spotify, and you look at 1%, right, which is the song that they did with Bad Bunny.
Okay.
Right.
It's at 950 some million listens. It is almost at 1 billion.
Almost at 1 billion.
God.
I challenge anybody to just pick up your favorite artist and look at your favorite song and see how many listens it has. And I guarantee you, it's probably not even close.
No.
That's crazy.
One song and one song, one platform. Now, you still got YouTube. You still got Apple Music.
Yeah.
And so, man, what a great thing for our valley. And that's just one song. They've got a bunch of other songs.
Yeah.
They recently recorded. I don't know if I should be saying this, but they recently recorded with Shakira.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I heard they're
Like,
doing a lot more collaborations.
Yeah, and they put it on TikTok. So it's not
It's not a secret.
it's not a secret.
It's not a secret,
but
Victoria.
that dude, I mean, I don't know if anybody knows who Shakira is, but she's kind of popular, right?
I mean, I heard her hips don't lie.
And
Yeah.
well, and here's the other thing that's really cool about all that is it's the part of the reason, or I think a big part of the reason that they've blown up so much is collaborating,
100%.
Okay. Yeah.
I agree.
is working with others.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crossing boundaries.
Crossing boundaries. Essentially what STBA did. Right.
Right.
3-4 years
Yeah.
ago was, hey, look, let's all work together.
Yeah.
But
and
it's always
see what
great.
happens.
You have Bad Bunny, right, who comes from the Latin community. You have Shakira, who comes from the Latin community. And then you have Frontera that just kind of blown up, right? And instead of what I would call Bad Bunny and Shakira kind of dismissing them, right? They're,
Yeah.
they're stabilized, super
They don't need
rock
Grupo
stars, right?
Frontera, yeah.
No, they don't. But for them to recognize and say, hey, look at this little Latin group, right?
Yeah.
Up and coming,
Yeah.
hitting the charts hard.
Yeah.
They want to collaborate with them. And so I think that's important for us to take back, right? And part of STBA, what they do is us as Hispanics have to support and lift each other up
Right.
more than kind of drag each other down, right?
Yeah.
Not, not be envious of
It's very natural in our
Success.
culture to have that envy for
Have
some
that
weird
envy or-
for
Yeah.
some weird reason.
It had been, right?
Yeah. It had
been.
But
It's
it
shifting.
feels like that's shifting.
I think it's shifting.
And not
Yeah.
just in our construction community, but I see it
in every industry.
in every industry, yeah. I mean, man, shout out to Grupo Frontera, dude. Edinburgh native.
Come on the podcast, dogs.
I'll get him on.
Get on the podcast, dog.
I'm going to ask him, too.
That's one of you gotta admire that, And-
I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Like, they're homies. Like, they're homeboys. They're from the Valley.
That's
They're
right.
just like
it could be
all of us.
anyone. Yeah.
They're just like all of us.
Could be our podcast tomorrow, gets 1 million views, and me and Ronnie are gone.
I ain't going anywhere. I love the Valley.
Yeah, I know. I love the Valley, bro. I don't think people I've always said this. I left the Valley once. I don't ever want to leave it again,
I love
bro.
the Valley, too.
Yeah. Dude, there's something about the people down here. I don't know if it's because we exercise our mind a little bit differently, because switching from English to Spanish
Yeah.
very fluidly is it has become its own dialect. And if you travel to other places and you've lived or spent some time in other places, dude, there's nothing like being down here.
No, it's crazy.
From a dialect, like just from talking to each other.
Right.
It's in and out of Spanish and English like ease.
Yeah.
What does that do for the mind? I don't know. I mean, if you've been practicing it for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years,
It gives you a different sense of perspective,
I would say
for sure.
I would say that we're the minds and the talent that exists down here in the Valley is untapped. And you see it just in Grupo Frontera. Like, look at that.
Well, there's
you know?
there's a guy that writes music. He writes music for Shakira. He writes music for.
He's from Roma.
Yeah, he's from
a good
Roma.
friend of
That's amazing.
my boy Jaime.
Yeah, he went to high school with
bro, that
like
guy's
everyone.
incredible.
Yeah.
You go to his IMDb and you look at his resume. It's like, really?
And this guy's right next to like all these super mega rock stars, like
Yeah, yeah.
superstars, and the guy's
I don't
from
know. Have you heard of Madonna?
like Star County.
he did stuff for Madonna.
Yeah,
That's great.
Crazy.
that is crazy, bro.
There's a lot
lot of
of talent, bro. There's a lot of talent here in the Valley, and it's exciting to see how that's all gonna flourish
Look at all
here
the
in the next
all the Tejano
decade.
groups that came out, bro.
Yeah.
Duelo,
Oh, yeah, all of them.
Intocable, Sólido. They're all from around here.
Yeah, and they all did well back then, but
Just
what
imagine-
Grupo Frontera's
Yeah.
been able to do is
Oh,
like,
yeah.
holy shit.
But they're like an offspring from those guys.
No,
Yeah,
they,
for
they
sure.
are
You know?
direct. They are a direct product, right?
Yeah.
We all are from our upbringing and from
Yes.
where we come from. Yes, and so kudos to all the guys that kind of paved the way before them for them to be able to get to this point. And then kudos to Grupo Frontera to say, you know what, we're going to give a free concert at the
that was amazing
in McAllen for our people.
Yeah,
like
when
they're getting.
When the heck
they did it during Fiesta de Palmas. It must have been just
About 2 months
a couple months ago. Yeah.
Damn,
About 2
if
months ago.
if they would do that now,
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I'm sure that they will. You know,
They will again.
I've met a couple of the guys, and dude, they're just down to earth.
Yeah.
Like they feel just like us about
Yeah.
the valley.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
yeah, it's because the valley's home to people that don't appreciate the valley. Appreciate the valley. If you've never left the valley, you don't want to leave it.
Yeah. No,
it's
I
not the
encourage
same
people to
anywhere.
go to school, man. Go
Yeah.
away to school. See what it's like. Appreciate where you're from, because trust me, there's nothing like this place.
No.
Yeah.
Nothing like
It's
it.
incredible.
Man, Sebby, well, dude, thank you for all the information. Thank you for coming on, man.
I
Yeah,
know,
it's
man.
been
That was
fun.
super educational,
It's
bro.
good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to pick your brain more often.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, man.
Always available.
Between you and me, pull's crystal ball.
What do you
see? I got $100. Where'd I put it?
Yeah.
That's funny. So what do we have for the raffle this week? What do we? Yeah. Man, well, thank you to everybody that tuned in today and liked, shared, and comments on the podcast. These are the type of people that we want to bring to you all. People like Mr. Sebby here, that's moving the valley forward for us, and is a front runner with major decisions that are being made, and you know, helping everyday people like ourselves to be able to build houses and keep projects moving. Once again, want to thank Lone Star. I want to thank Sebby, Howling Rabbits for hosting us here. Like I said, if you haven't been out here, y'all need to come check this out, man.
They brew beer here.
Yeah.
Like y'all do your own beer.
Yeah. It's really good too. So
Yeah.
take that. You know, I really like beer.
The beer that you guys brew, is it a little cheaper than like your regular name brand beer?
No.
The
It's actually
same?
probably a little.
It's more
same,
expensive?
Not more expensive, but we focus on high quality ingredients,
Yeah.
and we got a couple brew guys, man, that are just masters at what they do.
You are not paying $3 here, guys.
But they do a good job, and we try to cultivate flavors that are unique to the valley and that people like. So we've done we had a strawberry mango. We had
Ooh, nice.
we have a super ultra popular guava that we still keep on tap because that one sells out. But we've done a cinnamon stout. We've done all kinds of things, right, that the valley likes.
Yeah,
So,
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
What we like to do is give our guests the opportunity to tap the white button, and then I'll pass this to Ulises, and then he's going to show everybody who the winner is. Today's raffle winner will win dinner for two at Papados.
nice.
So once again, thank you for everybody that liked, shared, and comment. We're going to give Sebby here the opportunity to go ahead and spin that wheel.
Here it goes.
There you go, big dog.
What does a howling rabbit sound like?
I don't know.
I don't even know. Couldn't even tell you what it sounds like.
Fuck it, let's YouTube it.
I don't think they can howl.
Jesse Rangel, hit me up, bro.
What did he win?
He won a dinner for two at Papados.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Papa Dukes.
Crown Royal.
As my friends like to call it, the Dukes.
Now, well, once again, guys, just want to say thank you for everybody that tuned in.
I'm sorry, but we we got an angry rabbit here. Hold on.
Did you find it?
It says angry bunny rabbit screaming.
Yeah, I don't think anything around here sounds like that.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I tried to plug that in. But
Sounds like a snake.
You
Or
need a
something.
happy howling rabbit.
Easter's coming up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Thank you, bro.
Yeah. Thanks, Debbie. Appreciate
Thanks,
it, bro.
y'all.
Thank you to Ronnie for being here. Thank you for Elises.
Yes.
His boy Paul. They keep this podcast moving anywhere we go. Thank you for having us here at your house.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the listeners for tuning in this week. We'll be back next week with another guest. And if y'all want to hear or hear us talk to anyone, please send us anybody that you would be interested in us sitting down with and talking to. We're open to suggestions. We'll go
Who do we got
anywhere.
next?
We got ABC Supply.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, so
Okay.
ABC Supply is
They've
coming
been
up next
around
week.
forever.
They're coming around, bro. They're coming around. Like, what I mean, they're coming around to the podcast, but
Yeah,
they've been
good.
around forever.
But they've been around forever.
Yeah.
My dad was buying stuff from them back in the 60s and
Wow.
70s. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just like Mets.
Wow.
That's right.
Just like Mets.
One more thing that I'm plugging in is next week we're having the bowling tournament. We got 20 teams, 20 lanes competing. Thank you to all the companies that are participating in the bowling tournament. It'll be a Flamingo Bowl.
Are there going to be awards?
Yes, sir. First, second, and third place. Each team is consisted of 5 people. There will be food for every team. There will be fountain drinks for every team, some beer for the adults. and we will be giving away first, second, and third
we
trophies.
use that term lightly.
No, but thank you to everybody that tuned in, guys. We really appreciate you guys.
Thanks, y'all.
Awesome, man.
Thanks.
Cool.